was younger, I saw my daddy cry and curse at the wind. He broke his own heart, and I watched as he tried to reassemble it. And my mama swore that she would never let herself forget. And that was the day that I promised I'd never sing of love if it does not exist. Darling, you are the only exception. 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 Maybe I felt somewhere deep in my soul that love never lasts, and we've got to find other ways to make it alone or keep a straight face. And I've always lived like this, keeping a comfortable distance. And up until now I've sworn to myself that I'm content with loneliness, because none of it was ever worth the risk. Well, you are the only exception. 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 I've got a tight grip on reality, but I can't let go of what's in front of me here. I know you'll be here in the morning when I wake up. Show me some kind of proof it's not a dream. Whoa, You are the only exception. 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 And I'm on my way to believing. Oh, and I'm on my way to believing.
Welcome to this week's Sunday service meditation. Let's begin by closing our eyes and taking a few slow, deep breaths. Give yourself permission to be present with all of yourself in this moment. Intimacy in your twin flame union begins with learning how to be intimately connected and present with God and yourself. Every aspect of your being deserves to feel loved. And today, let's focus our attention on the physical form, the body. Blocks to sex, closeness, connection, and intimacy show up when we hold on to fear and don't recognize our own divinity. Is there any part of your body that you feel self-conscious about? Is there any part of your physical form that you feel is less than perfect for your ultimate lover? Your body deserves to feel loved. So direct your loving attention and focus to that part of your body. What loving feeling can you invite into this space instead? Bring this feeling into this part of your body now. Do you notice the difference when you bring yourself love and accept yourself here? Allow this love to expand and fill your entire body until you feel at peace. Then gently return your focus back to the awareness of this eternal moment now.
Hi everyone, I'm Roxanne and I will be doing today's card reading for the Sunday service. The oracle deck that I will be pulling the cards from is the Journey of Love Oracle deck from Elena Fairchild. I really love this deck. It's just like all about, your journey of returning home to God, which I feel like is perfect for today's sermon about, twin flame sex and intimacy.
So I've already pre-shuffled the cards and I pulled 3, so let's get started. So the first card that I pulled is Distant Shores. There's like this divine feminine who is overlooking the shore. Almost looks like she's searching for something, like she's kind of waiting for something or pondering. What I really feel from this card is that if you have a desire for something more, if you maybe you feel like there's something more to life or more in your relationships or in love, then it's safe to really follow that desire. And I want to read a little excerpt from this card that I thought was really beautiful. It's, "Your soul is yearning for more. The divine is all, and there are no limits to what can be experienced by the soul. The soul is so hungry for divine reunion that it will seek out whatever is needed to get there." So yeah, this is just about like honoring that desire for something more, for something deeper and richer. So in your twin flame union, you are meant to keep going deeper and deeper into love and intimacy and romance together. There's no end. All you could ever experience is a block that you can move through. So I feel like this is just about like stepping forward and, exploring and being open to being vulnerable and being open to like having, those experiences, whether you're with your twin flame or whether you know them or you don't know them, you can still have that exploration within yourself with God, which leads us to the next card, which is contemplation. So, she kind of looks like she's just like really focused on herself, looking within and connecting with like God, right, within herself. And if you find yourself in this place where maybe you aren't with your twin flame yet, it's really safe to go within and to like get to know yourself on a more intimate level, right? Because even when we're having an intimate experience with our twin flames, it's really just God that we're communing with. So it's really safe to like give yourself all of the love and the attention and the romance that you desire in your heart, because it's not until you give it to yourself first that you can actually have that experience with your twin flame. And the last card is Across the Waters. So as you can see, there's kind of a divine feminine, but it could be a divine masculine as well, just overlooking the sea, what seems to be the sea. And what I get from this is that, as you choose to go deeper into intimacy in your union or with God, there will be, and that's just part of the process, there will be some blocks that will come up. There might be some fears or some doubts or some beliefs that you've carried like all of your life in regards to love, in regards to sex, in regards to like intimacy. And so it's safe to go there, and it's safe to face that and to dive deep into these blocks, right? Because what's on the other side of it is only going to be deeper peace. It might seem scary, it might be frustrating, but when you move through it, it's going to feel much more peaceful. And at the core, sex with your twin flame is peaceful. And so if you're not experiencing that peace, that's okay. But it's really safe to go into those places that might feel a little chaotic or that might feel not in alignment with love, so that you can experience closeness and openness and vulnerability. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that, like, with your twin flame, it's really safe to explore, you know, your sexuality, and to be intimate with them, because that it's really a reflection of your relationship with God, right? It's the safest container that you could have to explore that. And so no matter what it looks like on the outside, it's really safe to go all in. So I feel like that's really everything that wanted to come through today. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of the Sunday service. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shaleia, and I have the privilege of introducing today's sermon by Adam and Brienne on the subject of twin flame, sex, and intimacy. Really juicy subject in store today. And also, we have a really exciting announcement for the very beginning of the sermon, so stay tuned for that. A lot of fun things happening in the Church of Union this week. So, yes, I want to talk a little bit about the subject of twin flame, sex, and intimacy. I feel like this is something that is so unique to the twin flame ascension path. Because, you know, Jeff and Shaleia teach that with any ascension path, you're going to be with your twin flame. I mean, you're one with them. They're your partner in eternal life. You're always going to end up with them as you pursue God. But with the twin flame ascension path, you are able to be with your twin flame at the beginning of your journey instead of at the end. And with that, you're able to, have a love life with your twin flame, essentially a love life with God. You're able to partner with God intimately as your lover through your twin flame union. And you're able to, manifest heaven on earth with your twin flame with God. And so it really allows you to be able to go to these areas, like areas having to do with sex and intimacy, and to work through them in a way that is so unique. And it's so powerful to be able to heal that area of your life with your twin flame. And it really does bring everything up. I know for me, I've learned on this ascension path, especially in this area of life, like, it's safe to really look at things again and to be where you are and to, really be compassionate with yourself and to let love be with you there, to really let love in. I know for me growing up, I've talked a bit about this before, how, I grew up in a very religious, background. I had my mother's father was a preacher, a Methodist preacher in rural Missouri. And, he was very strict and very rigid. And I know that my mother had that feeling, a lot of shame and a lot of feelings around her sexuality, of just feeling, just not very comfortable with it, feeling like she couldn't really talk about it, that it wasn't really like a normal part of life for her. And me growing up, like it was something that I was kind of just passed down, something that we just never talked about. I just kind of, I didn't really feel like it was something that I could ever feel comfortable with. And I would feel sometimes very upset with myself for like having this area of my life. And just like trying to like understand how to approach it and like, what was healthy and what was loving there. And so, I just know like from that experience that that's not like super uncommon. And sometimes even in families where we're brought up and people talk about sex and it's not like that forbidden subject, it can sometimes be something where people kind of teach you their template for it, which is very much based on soulmate relationships, which has a lot to do with like, projecting and also control. And it can be surface level, it can be just about like getting high, but it's really missing the true meaning of sex and intimacy. And there's just something about being with your twin flame that does bring all of that up. And it's just such a beautiful opportunity. And to be able to be with God in those areas with your twin flame, being able to heal through your sex and your intimacy. It's such a powerful thing. And it really allows you to look at things differently and it brings up a lot of feelings through sex with your twin flame. And it's just a beautiful opportunity. And so that's just one of the things I feel is just so unique about this particular ascension path. And it's just something that I'm really glad that Adam and Brienne really dove into it, because again, it's just one of those things that, like, as you're on this path and as you're healing in this area, it's like, how do you navigate some of these things that are coming up, and what's really going on here? And Adam and Brienne do a really great job of just shining a light, bringing the teaching of Jeff and Shaleia together, to really like paint a full picture of what's happening, why it's important, and how to navigate it, how to approach it. And so I found it very healing myself. And yeah, it's safe to be with God in these areas. It's safe to heal these areas. There's nothing that isn't divine about sexuality, about intimacy with your twin flame. There's nothing about it that is something to feel ashamed about or to feel uncomfortable about. And if there's illusions surrounding it, or beliefs that are out of alignment with love, or experiences you've had where you've been wounded, maybe even mistreated in this area of your life, it's really safe to go there compassionately with love and with God, of course, in your twin flame. And to be able to heal those areas, it's a very liberating thing, because, just carrying some of those things with us, sometimes we kind of take for granted, and we forget like just how much it really does affect us. And so it's just really nice to be able to heal those areas and to have our ultimate lover to do that with. So very healing sermon ahead. Lots of just juicy insights and perspectives, and just encouragement and clarity about how to go about this area of life with your twin flame. I also want to share that if you would like to tithe or donate to the Church of Union, to help us, spread and extend this teaching of union with the world, you can at unionism.org. Any amount of support can help. It's just such a gift to be able to share this teaching. It has healed so many people, and topics like this that we talk about here on Sunday service, just all the different things that the different branches of the Church of Union are doing for the world. There's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of people who are needing this message and asking for this message. And so if you would like to support that, you absolutely can there. And I will see you guys at the end of the service.
Hello, we're Adam and Brienne. We're twin flames in harmonious union, and we're executive ministers of union, and we'll be giving you your sermon today on this lovely Sunday. And it's going to be about twin flame intimacy. So stay tuned for that, and we'll first do our opening ohms and our opening prayer. Follow along in your heart or out loud. Now to our opening prayer. I am the only child of God, forever part of Him. I am created by Him in perfection, and there I'll always remain. My mind is my sanctuary where I keep His holy creation sacred. I will only allow in His voice. I will only accept His word.
Today, I will hear the word of God. I surrender myself to His teachings through His divine channel. I will honor what He has spoken and accept it as His will. I will be obedient to His word, for this is my salvation. In Christ's name, Amen. Welcome back. So as Adam shared with you in the beginning, we would like to talk to you about intimacy. But before we do, we want to invite you to join our Unionism Spiritual Discussion Facebook group. Directly after the service, the council is going to come together and announce the winners for the Sweet Spring fundraiser. So we're going to have a good time. Come join us, and we'll see you there.
Good.
All right. So let's get started on the topic of twin flame intimacy, sex, and all of that good stuff that we're all very curious about, and we're all very much learning and deepening into. I feel like this is a topic, thank goodness for our gurus, Jeff and Shaleia, that are showing us the way here, and they've provided a lot of really good materials, whether it be through YouTube videos or the classes, information everywhere where twin flames can really come and find what twin flame sex, intimacy, connection, what it really is and what it's about. And I know that this is something that Adam and I have been healing in our union, since we come into harmonious union. And we were actually talking earlier today about, my upbringing and Adam's upbringing, and how they were almost like two total different sides of a coin, I guess you could say.
Yeah, or spectrum,
spectrum.
Very much a different end. Yeah.
Like for me growing up, it was very much a hush hush kind of thing. Like you don't talk about it. It's more of a shameful, sex is very shameful. It's very secretive. Or there was the other side of you're very open and boisterous about it, but it's a perverted, dirty kind of thing. And so those were the only really ways that I viewed, intimacy and sex. Whereas on your hand,
well, I feel like also in that with your upbringing, it was a lot about like, hiding your body, or your body is like, disgusting, or growing up with all that kind of terminology, which on my end, my mom was very open about everything, and I was like, oh no, thank you. Like I was very turned off by that, in a sense. Like I was very much like it kind of led to the same thing in a sense, right? Because it's like my mom was very open. She would kind of like just come out of her bedroom, she would, not clothes on. I would be like, oh my God, no, like, and I was very modest, right? So it's very two polar opposites. And yeah, that caused a little bit of tension in our household at that time. And she was very open about sex and body stuff and everything. And I just could not handle that, because that was the total opposite end of what you experienced, right? But still, I kind of like reacted a bit like it was too much. And
yeah, I feel like there was probably something in your inner being that knew, okay, it's great that you feel really good and being vulnerable like that, but let's
not do it to this
right
extent.
Exactly.
Don't need to see all that,
Yeah, because the revealing of your body, or twin flame sex, it's a very sacred thing, right? And I was revisiting the sermon that Jeff and Shaleia had done for the Church of Union on twin flame sex, and Jeff was describing it as a safe container that you and your twin flame can consistently invest into. And I know since, we come in a harmonious union, traumas, things that I didn't even know that I had in relation to intimacy began to come to the forefront of my consciousness to heal through. And I was actually healing through something, I guess it was maybe last week, where, as a child growing up, I often felt like I needed to mask or be something other than myself in order to fit in. And so, like, let's say if I went over to a family member's house or a friend, I felt like I needed to be like my cousins or my friend in order to fit in or to be loved, because I felt like who I was at the core wasn't lovable. And so I didn't realize that I had carried this on throughout my life, trying to mask or be something other than myself. And I was even bringing that into our intimacy, relating to Adam from a childlike state, or you might want to speak to this too if I'm not like articulating it correctly, but yeah, like trying to relate to our sex from like a very childish, immature manner. And so it almost felt like we were constantly like missing the mark, whereas Adam, on the other hand, held that space of maturity, and that there was a sense of a foundation that you had already established, right? And so I actually had a dream last night, because we've been doing a lot of healing around this. And the message of the dream was basically a transcending of kind of what I was saying, that perversion or that shame, all of that energy that we learn kind of in the world about, sexual relationships and things like that. The message of my dream was like a transcending of that and stepping into a very spiritual, adult, mature, divine sexual relationship, with God, myself, and my twin flame. And that felt really, really good. So,
Yeah. I mean, what we've been taught is that, before, when you come into uni, you're basically a virgin before
mm,
you have sex with your twin flame, right?
mhm,
So in a sense, it could be very much like almost like, teenagers with no experience, or you could, feel very differently. Like, of course, like every
mhm,
union is different, but there can be a level of that, because if you are virgins and you kind of like, you never experienced twin flame sex. So yeah, it's a learning and growing space in a sense.
mhm.
And I think also you had like view of it that it was a bit like immature, and it was a bit, I
Right.
don't know exactly the words you used when we were talking about it this morning, but
Mhm,
yeah, you had a view about it that is kind of like, and I mean, sex is kind of like a mature thing, like,
mhm.
of course, because like you shouldn't be having sex at a very young age, right? Like,
Right.
and it should only be with your twin flame. So there's a
Mhm,
lot of aspects to this that, needs to be discovered and learned. And you have all these traumas coming up. I had sexual trauma too, and
mm,
I healed those in my alignment process early on in my
mhm.
journey as well. And yeah, but I had come to a place where I was more comfortable with myself and my body. So, and that kind of like was holding space for you, and
Yes,
the things you were moving through as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yes, what this reminds me of is I was watching a YouTube video that Jeff and Shaleia had made early on, shortly after they had come into harmonious twin flame union. And she was talking about her and Jeff's intimacy and everything that they were learning. And she said that something that Jeff had said to her was that, I guess because she had some feelings after their first time of being intimate together, and she was emotional and crying. And Jeff was just speaking to her and saying, "Oh, wow, I see that you've, well, clearly, you've never been loved like this before." And he also told her, too, that although we've had different partners, in truth and spiritual truth, like, you're a virgin because your twin flame can meet you perfectly in that space, emotionally, spiritually. Only they can connect with you in all of those places. And I found that very beautiful, because even if you if you have had other partners prior to your twin flame, will know that when you do, whether you're with your twin flame now or you're working on manifesting your physical union, you are both spiritual virgins when you come into that place. Because, and I know I can speak to this too, like, before Adam, there was always like any relations with someone other than, Adam, it felt like there was an emptiness. There was something missing. It just didn't feel complete. But when you're with your twin flame, they meet you there in they meet you perfectly, right? Because it's your perfect lover. So that was something as
Mm.
well. Mhm.
Well, I feel like that other part from that class would go in perfectly here too.
Mhm.
Um,
Which part?
well, about feeling like, or every time it's perfect, you always receive what you
Right.
need in
Yeah.
that moment,
Yeah,
right?
so this is from Sunday, 7
Mhm.
p.m., class number 33, and the
Mhm.
title is Love and Intimacy with Your Twin Flame. And a quote that I had pulled from the class that Jeff says, "When you have cleared all the blocks, sexual blocks, and you're able to go deeper together, it gets better. Every time it's perfect for that moment. Even if you might have wanted something a little different, it was perfect in that moment for what you both needed. And that's so true. I have found in our experiences, there have been times where there was an expectation on myself or just in general of what I thought should happen, and there would, of course, with expectations comes disappointment, right? Because you're supposed to remain completely unattached. But also too, if as I have healed and grown out of that, I know that every time I've received exactly what I needed to in that moment, whether it be a block that arose or an upset, or it was just an absolutely beautiful experience, which it is. There was always what I needed in that moment. God knows, what you need in that time, and it's always perfect.
Yeah, and I know in this Jeff and Shaleia sermon on twin flame sex, they were talking about how even if you have sexual traumas, like these can be healed in intimacy with your twin flame, basically, because it's so healing. It's an ascension tool, basically. It's not just something you throw around, right? It's a very important part, and it's a very sacred experience that you don't want to throw that off easily as something, that's just something we do around here, but it's an ascension tool.
There you
And that's
go.
very clear because it's going to bring up all the things. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought like something from this sermon that they gave on this. It's Jeff had said, sex is something that is necessary for the divine spiritual communion between masculine and feminine lovers and counterparts. And it's sort of like a necessary communication also, and a necessary act to have.
Yeah.
I don't know where, because of course we did some research here and we're looking at old videos and things, and it's you have to work on your twin flame sex blocks, basically. That's what Jeff said, and this is also so very connected to abundance, creativity, right?
Yes.
So if you have blocks in one area, like there's something to look at for all of them, right? And it's about healing all of those, because you want to be in perfect communion with God in that space, right?
Yes. Yeah, I love what you were just saying there. It is tied perfectly into your wealth and abundance. And so it's something that you definitely don't want to avoid. And why would you want to anyways? That was the class that I was watching that I just spoke to, one of the students was asking questions pertaining to, sexual blocks and things like that. And Jeff was very clear in the class that you can't avoid this. And he also lightheartedly said that you can mirror exercise into your perfect sexual state of being, right? The mirror exercise is used for absolutely everything in clearing out your upsets and blocks.
Yeah, and it's just another way for twin flames to communicate, to be together, right? Like it's supposed to be like this wholeheartedly thing, right? And harmonious and perfect union. And I think he also said there, in higher bodies, you're in sexual communion with your twin flame at all times. Sexual nirvana. You need to transcend all bodies to come to that point. So that's kind of nice to know.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also mentions too in the sermon how it's the way that the world teaches us is like a kind of like conserving your sexual energy so that you have it for that really powerful, intense moment, for whoever whoever you sleep with or something. But they were speaking to, that's actually a massive leak of your energy. And it's really just, people looking for a high, right? Because sex can get you high. But with your twin flame union, it is something that you consistently invest into, that safe container. And it feels really good and you do get high, but it's a sustainable high, and it's a gradual high, right? And you get higher and higher and higher, but it's also grounded in God. It's rooted. And so that brings you into, after you transcend the bodies, it brings you into that perfect state of nirvana, where it's just a constant communion that you're having with God, yourself, and your twin flame.
Yeah, when we're having blocks in this area, it's the same with everything else. Like we're having blocks to our relationship with God, basically. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to look at. And
Yeah.
this can be, very triggering for people, even in union, or even in harmonious union, there's a lot to look at.
Yeah.
But it's safe to go there, basically. And even if you're not in harmonious union or union with your twin flame yet, any sort of physical relationship, I love what Shaleia had said in their sermon. Give your sex and sexuality to God. Um, Allow God to keep it safe for you,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, you have a safe container with God in that space,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they also touch on too, because you know that this is in everyone's minds, but if you're wondering, well, I'm not yet in physical union with my twin flame, I know who my twin flame is. And Jeff also speaks to self-love, masturbation. And
Mhm.
so that is, Jeff says that's something that I can't remember his exact words, but it's safe to do that, right? Because eventually you do transcend that. And it's just healing sexual relationship with self, right?
Mhm.
With God in that space. And then as you manifest and you come into your physical union and harmonious union, you do transcend that because then you have, your whole self there to, if there's still things to be moved through, you can continue to move through together. And they also mentioned too that, accepting yourself unconditionally for where you're at, even if you're in physical union
Mhm.
and there are blocks and things, you can, still use that as a form of self-love to help you move through those, what's arising. And they
Mhm.
also said you can start very small, right? Like you can start with just flirting, just flirt, right? You
Mhm.
flirt with one another.
Yeah, it's a
You
form of sex. That's what they were sharing as well.
exactly,
Yeah.
yes. I'm glad you remember that
Mhm.
part. Yeah, it's a form of sex. And so it's completely safe in your union to be vulnerable and express and explore yourself in that place because there's going to be a lot of healing involved and there's a lot of beauty and connection and it's going to be something that unlike no other, right? That your twin flame, it's just that's where it's at. And so, yeah, it's safe to explore completely here.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of things can come up here around like what do you feel about your body? Are you accepting
Mm,
yourself fully? There's so many areas of this because you're being intimate with your counterpart basically,
mm,
and then all those things are going to be brought up to the surface that you may not be accepting of your body, or you may have all these blocks or sexual traumas or whatever it is, they're gonna come up, but it's safe. Like we talked about earlier, it's like a safe container for all of that to
mhm.
come up,
Yeah,
and it's important to communicate about all these things as they happen, so that
right.
it's out in the open and it's just something to work through. That's all it is.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
not someone's fault or everything like that. Is just
Yeah, accepting myself and my body has been a big one for me. And also, too, when I was watching that class, Shalia was speaking to how there was a something that she was feeling about her body, which it was shame, and she wasn't sure where that was coming from. And she asked God to show her, and you can always ask God to show you, and God will. And God gave her a vision, and basically, when she was a baby, and her parents would be changing her diapers, like we do with little babies, because of how they felt about the body and those private areas of the body. They were projecting that onto Shalia when they were changing her diapers. And so they would very quickly, that's what she said too, like she kept having diaper rashes because they would change her really quickly and they didn't love her, right? Like powder and things like that, just making sure your baby's completely taken care of. And so Shalia took that shame on, even as a little baby. She grew up with that, feeling shameful of her body. And so when God revealed that to her, she invited God in, as her divine mother and father to love her baby self in that place. And she healed it for good, right? So you can find all of these places in your consciousness and you can invite love and divine truth into that space. And be relieved of, whatever upset might be lingering there.
Yeah, I feel like this is yeah, we talked about this in the beginning, how, our mothers were,
Mm.
raising us in that place, and how we can all think back at like what situation shaped us here, right? Because
Mm.
like of course it has a lot to do with our upbringing, and how our parents felt about themselves, and even me having a mother that was very open, I was very like, okay, that's enough, right? That's too much, right? I don't need all that. So
Yeah.
it kind of became like an opposite, like repulsion in a sense to wanting to be that open.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for me, in school, we had, like, I don't even remember. It wasn't even called sex ed. I don't remember what it was called, but it was just a class where you learned about the anatomy of the bodies, but there wasn't anything taught about sex, like nothing. And so everything that I learned, because my family didn't talk about it at all, everything that I learned was from like little kids at school. And
That's very trustworthy right there.
I know. And so I didn't understand the how it worked. I didn't get it at that time. And so I just grew up picking up information, bits and pieces here and there. And of course, learning from like TV, what I seen on TV or what I heard my friends talk about. And I kind of put two and two together eventually at some, probably my teenage years. But yeah, there's not a lot of information out there, and you learn a lot of incorrect things. And like we were saying in the beginning, you learn, oh gosh, this is dirty, it should be hidden, or is it shameful, or you should just leak your sexual energy everywhere. Like it's either one of the two, but that's just not the case. And as we heal ourselves and everyone comes into a perfect state of union with God themselves and their twin flame, sex is going to be just a very normal, natural thing, right? It's just it's a part of your communion with God, and it's beautiful and divine, and there's nothing undivine about it. God created it as,
Mm. But
yeah.
it's okay to have blocks.
It is okay to have blocks. We all got blocks.
Yeah, and
Every single one of us.
just stepping stone is an ascension tool, right?
Mhm.
It can be said again, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to bring up all the things, but we have to go there because it's a
Right.
part of our, if we're just going to ignore that part, how are we going to get into perfect union with God?
Yeah, just I want to add one more thing to
Mhm.
here, Ascension tool, because in one of the YouTube videos that I'd watched with Jeff and Shaleia, they were talking about celibacy.
Mhm.
And what had happened is as they were coming together, they were very active in their sex life, but it was bringing up so much for them at a very fast pace where they felt, okay, let's practice celibacy for a while, and have balance here.
Mhm.
And that helped them to, I don't know, have power in a sense of what was manifesting so rapidly in their life. And so, yeah, it's a very powerful ascension tool to reveal deep rooted blocks and things like that. And you just use a mirror exercise,
Not to be taken lightly.
not to be taken lightly.
Yeah, and I think also like an honorable mention is that, if you're in your beginning stages with your twin flame and you're like, well, should I wait till I get married? But, you're already married in spiritual truth to your twin flame.
Hmm.
So if you feel ready, you go ahead, but it's okay
Yes.
to wait too, right? But it's just moving through the blocks to it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, as unionist in the Church of Union, the Church of Union stands for sex only with your twin flame. And because you were created as one, in the same instant, in spiritual truth, you're already married. So just as Adam said, it doesn't matter if you're married or where you're at, as long as you both are agreeing to it and it feels good, then you can, of course, explore that in your union with your twin flame.
yeah, and go at the pace that you feel good, but it's just important to look at these things,
Mhm.
right? Like, and as you move along, because this is such an important part
Right.
of love with God,
It is.
which is why we're all here. Yeah. All
All
right.
right.
Do you feel complete?
I feel complete. How about you?
Yeah, I do feel complete.
Okay, we'll
So,
conclude.
so we'll do our closing prayer and our closing oaths. Father, I accept your word into my heart. I will honor your will in my life, and I will follow you without hesitation anywhere you ask. I know you guide me into your heart where I belong. I accept that you're everywhere, and in your teaching is in all things. God, I know you provide me clarity in these teachings of union, that I may be forever in union with you.
I accept that you are in me as you are in my brother. I will not deny my brother your word, and will share your teaching with him in any way you ask, and only as you ask. For when I share my salvation with him, I fully claim my salvation and return to you with him. In Christ's name, Amen. Speaking this prayer in your heart means you have accepted that you are on the path of awakening to your true divine nature. This is what it means to be a unionist. Follow the teachings of union with God wherever you find them, and purify your consciousness into perfect union with your Creator.
Now to our closing ohms. Follow along in your heart or out loud. God bless.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that beautiful sermon by Adam and Brienne. This sermon was so healing for me. I received so much from it. I remember just processing it like an hour or two later and just like, oh, wow, like I needed to hear that in my heart, just about how to really receive the lessons that your twin flame is showing you and presenting to you, being willing to go to those places with your twin flame. And also just realizing that this is like a clean slate. I love how they brought up, the part of, Jeff and Shalea's teaching where they talk about how like before you're with your twin flame, you're a virgin, like you don't know what sex is. Like you don't know yet. You haven't been there yet. And so it's just really safe to have compassion for ourselves. And that was a big part of the message that I got from them from this sermon. Was just really receiving the gift that your twin flame is offering you. And I also love how they talked about how you can't avoid it. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to go to these places. I think sometimes we, either because we're sensitive or because we're afraid or we judge ourselves or whatever it may be, there can be, blocks and feelings about, going to these places, but you really can't avoid it. They talked about how our sex and intimacy blocks have a lot to do with abundance and creativity. And so it's really safe to go to these places and you want to heal them because you want to feel better. And you can always feel better. The mirror exercise always works. And there's so much support with the Church of Union for that. And so just love this healing sermon. It's just such a great reminder of the purpose of your twin flame union and really what it offers you in terms of healing in this area. So yes, thank you so much, Adam and Brienne, for sharing on this subject. And if you liked this video, if you liked, this service, please do like and subscribe to this channel. And also, you can go to unionism.org if you would like to tithe and donate to the Church of Union to help us spread the message of unionism with the world. And we also have after church tea time. After every service, we have a group of students of the work, students of unionism, that come together and discuss the service. They just kind of talk about their feelings on the sermon, their healing journey, their insights. It's a really beautiful time to reflect. It's a beautiful conclusion to the service to be able to have that. And so you can join us in our Unionism Facebook Unionism Spiritual Discussion Group. Yeah, you can join in the discussion. You can make comments and, just really hear these different insights and really ground in your own healing on this particular topic. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.